Hey everybody, I'm Courtney Hashi, cookbook author and blogger. Welcome back to Court of Kitchen. Today I'm making cheeseburger bowls. You ever heard of, like, of course, burrito bowls or grain bowls or Buddha bowls, things like that? Well, I'm making a cheeseburger bowl. So I'm gonna make little sliders. I'm using turkey today, but of course you can use beef. And that and everything that you like on your burger is gonna go on top of roasted potatoes. So get it? Your burger and your fries. So we're gonna roast potatoes. All right, so for the potatoes, I'm using Yukon Golds. I like them because they get a little bit crispy on the outside and they stay, like, when they're done, they're nice and creamy on the inside. So I have one already chopped up, and then I have this one here. They're very easy. The way I like to do these in about an inch for this dish. About an inch. Now I would say cubed. These aren't exactly cubes because, you know, we have the ends, so they're not exactly cubed. For this size, these are larger, which is why I'm only using 2, and this will still end up being too much for the bowls. So about that big. No big deal. They're starchy, so what we're gonna do next, as you see the starch, the potatoes sticking. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna rinse this. The one behind me has already been rinsed. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna use my food mover, and I'm gonna move it to a fine mesh strainer here. The one thing a lot of people don't do before they roast their potatoes is do this. They don't at least rinse off, I'm hitting things. They don't rinse off the extra starch on the outside. And it's best to do that. If you have time, you can put them in a bowl of cold water for 10-15 minutes. That's even better, but at least do this. Just get the starch off the cold water, just off the outside. That I already did to that other potato. Okay, so this would probably be about 3/4 pound of potatoes for 2 big bowls. And then I'm just gonna put them on paper towels. Big whoop, and just dry them. You don't want it wet. I don't want any water because we're going to put some oil on these and then season them nicely. Okay, that's good. All dry. Put these guys up. Put them in with the other. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to put some olive oil. I like the flavor of olive oil. On the pan, I'm going to say that's about 1 tablespoon, about 1.5 tablespoons, give or take.
You're putting olive oil in the pan?
And I'm sorry, and on the pan I'm using grapeseed oil because we're going to put this in at 425. Let me bake this, put this bake on 425. Should have had this on earlier, obviously. 425, and they'll go for about a half hour, 30-35 minutes for 1 inch. So now to this, I'm gonna season them. For this, I'm gonna say a little under a ½ teaspoon. If I was just using salt, I would use closer to a teaspoon for this amount of potatoes. Potatoes need salt, but I'm also using Old Bay seasoning, which already has salt in it. So I'm gonna sprinkle it with that as well. Probably about a ½ teaspoon of this. So between the ½ teaspoon of the regular salt and ½ teaspoon of Old Bay, we have plenty of salt going on here for this amount of potatoes. And I'm gonna put a little bit more black pepper. There is black pepper in Old Bay too. And then the red is spicy paprika. Then all I'm gonna do, let's spray this. Again, I'm using a light oil. This is grapeseed. You could use canola, any kind of light oil that you have, vegetable oil type thing. It's just because of the high heat. I like that on there, but I love the olive oil in with the potatoes because of the flavor. Okay, so we're just gonna put these on this pan. And because I didn't have my oven waiting on me, which you should, I'll just let these sit here while we go over and make the sauce that we're gonna put on the top of these bowls. Just get them out so they get heat all around them. That's good. Have that waiting on us. Okay. Just wipe my hands real quick. Perfect. Okay, so for our sauce. Now I like to drizzle this on top of the bowl, but I also like to have them on the side to dip your potatoes in. I love that. Yogurt, the full fat yogurt, or you can use sour cream, and then mayonnaise, a ½ cup each. And then to that, I'm gonna add, I love Dijon mustard in this sauce. I love it in general. So I'm gonna add about a strong, call it a strong tablespoon, so maybe a tablespoon and a half, because I love it. And I'm gonna add in granulated onion, granulated garlic, about a ½ teaspoon of each. Perfect. Now, I'm using sweet chili sauce here. So you have the tangy with the Dijon and then the chili sauce. I like the same amount of the mustard, about like a tablespoon. I like that flavor. If you don't have chili sauce, you don't need it for this, you could substitute ketchup. They both are on the sweeter side, and we all know ketchup is pretty sweet. And then we need a little vinegar. I like to use apple cider vinegar. We don't want a lot. We're not making a dressing, we're making more like a dipping sauce. Oh, about a teaspoon. You could always add. And then I left my salt and pepper back here, so give me a sec. Okay. So just a pinch of salt. Again, you could always add, taste it at the end. Salt and pepper. And then we'll whisk it up. Love these kinds of sauces. They're so simple. And then if you need more vinegar to thin it out, you could always just use water too. If you like the flavor where it is, you don't need to use, or even chicken stock. Sometimes I use chicken stock, believe it or not, cold right out of the fridge. It works, because the rest of this is obviously way too much for what we're doing today. I always make more, so I always have it sitting in the fridge for any other recipe. Yep, sweet, tangy, delicious. Okay, so our sauce is ready. So now for our meat. Like I said, I'm using turkey today. Now I'm making 2 very large bowls. So this is a ½ pound. If you're making 4 or more, then use a whole pound. So ½ pound of turkey. This is lean. It's like 94%. So it's quite lean. So of course we're gonna season this. So we're gonna season with a ½ teaspoon, say, of salt. It's ½ pound, so a ½ teaspoon. Black pepper, about half that much. Black pepper, so about a ¼ teaspoon. Yes, I'm gonna put in some granulated onion, granulated garlic. Say about a ¼ teaspoon. Again, we all know that turkey is kind of on the bland side, so we want to season the burger itself up a little bit. We don't need to do all this stuff most of the time when we're using beef. It brings its own flavor. And then mustard. Can't forget a tiny bit of mustard. Again, this is really lean, so just a little bit, say 2 teaspoons. Now you see how I have the meat spread out all over the bottom? The reason is because you want to evenly distribute everything that we're putting in here right now, because you don't want to overmix it. That's the last thing you want to do, is overmix your meat. So I'm trying to, and I'm doing the same exact 2 teaspoons of mayonnaise. These don't have to be exact. I'm gonna say that's about 2 teaspoons. And then Worcestershire. It's really good in here, but you want to use very, very little with turkey. It could overpower it. So about a ½ teaspoon. So be kind of careful with this one, because with beef it stands up, with turkey not so much. And then what I like to do with the spoon is just kind of move around what I put in there. So you move the mustard and the mayo around, so we're going to mix it with our hand here. We're gonna mix it a lot less because of that. Don't use your strong hand, I'm right-handed, so use your non-domineering hand. So I'm gonna use my left hand, and then just take all of that outside in. Simple as that. And then just make patties. that's probably good. Looks like everything's mixed in. So I'm gonna leave that right there. I'm gonna make these into really tiny so they fit nice, like that 3 on the top of the bowls. So I'm gonna do that. Before I do all that, I'm gonna clean this up. I'm gonna clean myself up. I'm going to, right after I do that, I'm gonna put the potatoes in, again, about 30 minutes they'll take. And then we'll come back, we'll make our patties, and I'll tell you what else goes in these bowls. See you just in a few. Okay, we're back. I put our little patties together, little sliders. I made 4 sliders out of them. I have some olive oil, about a tablespoon or so, in this non-stick skillet. And I'm gonna put these in. Made them, I don't know, about 3/4 of an inch thick or so. They're not too thick, they're thick enough. And yeah, I am one of those people that makes the middle a little bit, put a dimple in there. I don't know, some people are really against that, some people are for it. I just do it thinking that it's not going to turn into a baseball, but who knows. So these need 5 minutes medium. Don't put them on high. The outside will get really, really dark and the inside won't cook. We want them to evenly cook together. So those little guys will shrink up a little bit. No need for a cover, no need for salt and pepper. That's all in the burgers themselves. So I'm going to keep that at a medium. So for what we're going to put, what else we're going to put on these burger bowls. So I turned my oven off because I checked one of the potatoes with the fork and they were done. So all I did is I opened the oven, let a little bit of the heat come out for about 30 seconds. And now they're in there, they're hot. They're still on the pan, so they'll stay nice and warm for a good 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes while these burgers finish. 5 minutes a side, 5 minutes first side, flip, 5 minutes on the second side. So what else we're putting on? Everything and anything that you like on your burgers, what you're gonna put on the top of these bowls. So, of course, lettuce, tomato, onion, your call. I can't have the burger, or most sandwiches for that matter, without pickles. These are dill pickles. Use whatever kind you like. And then bacon. I mean, come on, bacon cheeseburger. So I'm using a sharp cheese here. You can use sharp cheddar. You can use, like, it doesn't matter. Whatever you like on your burger, use whatever kind of cheese you like on your burger. So I'm gonna let these go 5 minutes. They need probably about 3 minutes at this point. I'm gonna flip them, let them go 5 minutes. About the 4-minute mark, I'm gonna make sure I have a timer on, 4-minute mark, I'm gonna put the cheese on. And then if you have a lid, put the lid on so the cheese will melt real quick, or put on some foil, whatever. Make sure you take them out after 10 minutes. If you're unsure and you don't wanna cut one open for presentation reasons, use your thermometer, make sure they're 165. They have to be cooked through their turkey. So I'm just gonna wait for these to be done. When we come back, we'll build our rolls. Our burgers are done. Our cheese has melted. They're under the foil here. So first things first, bottom of our bowl. I'm using a very large bowl here. I think it'll be easier to eat in a very large bowl. As I said, I was making pretty big bowls. I mean, be careful with this. I'm gonna use my fingers. Be careful if you do this, because these obviously are very hot right out of the oven. Build one of these. I like this huge bowl because I like to be able to maneuver things around. That's how I like it. So let's build one. So now I'm just putting these, however, the toppings on first before the burger. The burger comes on last. So lettuce, tomato. I just used, as you can see, grape tomatoes. So I just halved them if they were a little larger, and I quartered them. No big deal. Pickles, gotta have pickles. Pickles. And then, of course, I like I said, I like red onion. If you don't like onion, then don't use it. No big deal. I like it. And if you rinse these under cold water and then dry them with paper towel before, they won't have that extra sting to them either. And then bacon. Gotta have some bacon with the burger. And now, for the burgers. Look how pretty they are. Okay, so I'm gonna put 2 on here. I used Cooper sharp cheese. See how nice it melted? Really nice.
Is that similar to an American?
It's very creamy, yes, like an American. American. That's a great analogy. So there you go. 2 little burgers. Now I'm gonna put the sauce on. I forgot to mention that I did put in smoked paprika in this sauce originally. If you don't have smoked paprika, then you use plain paprika, but smoked paprika really does make a big difference. Just about 1/4 teaspoon. And so that makes it extra pink and really, really nice. Now, I like a lot of sauce. That's your call. Again, I made way too much sauce for these bowls. Way too much. But see, now you have a lot of room. If you want to use a knife for your burgers, all this and that, you have room. And then I always put extra sauce on the side, so if somebody wants it, they have it. Plus, I think it's kind of necessary to dip your potatoes in the sauce. I think it is anyway. Let's give this a little taste. I'm gonna take a piece of the burger. That is not your average dull or dry turkey burger. It's really moist and flavorful. I can't wait to dig all the way in and have some potatoes with the sauce and the crunchy, bright toppings on it. You saw how fast that was to make. It really, for the most part, came together all at the same time while the potatoes were roasting. So you have to make this for your family and friends. It's really fun and people really enjoy that. So do this for someone sometime, even for a nice, really light brunch. It'd be delicious. So thank you for watching. Your likes, shares, and comments always make me happy, so keep them coming. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Remember, hit Moby's cute little bell icon over there. If you haven't checked out my books, Chowders and Jacobs Fruit of the Week, or Continental Taste Volume 1 or Volume 2, check them out. You can get them on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And you can always go to my website and check some other things out at CourtneyHashik.com. And as you always know, until I see you very soon, I'm always sending hugs.